What up, YouTube? This is Daniel Rucker with True Table. Welcome to the table. I am going to broadcast today with my shades on. I hope that's okay. It's a little bright out here. I moved my location around a couple of times. I'm just not finding a good spot. So this just helps me to focus on the camera and not be squinting and things like that. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. While I have you, go ahead, if you feel so moved to do so, hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. I much appreciate it. It works wonders for your voice self-esteem, and it continues to motivate me to do this because I'm here and I'm here to stay, to bring this content, to bring this perspective, because there's so much that needs to be unpacked. There's so much that needs to be discussed and addressed. Today's topic was motivated by a friend of mine, and I do think it's very relevant. So, strap in, fellas, because this one is about you. The topic of the day is, why is it not a good idea to create a baby mama? That's a lot said. It's a mouthful. I know. I get it. And it's in an interconnected, conversation. But why is this a bad deal? For anybody that's been following my content, for anyone who, views my channel, again, I appreciate it. I have several videos already up relevant to single mothers. I have not yet spoken about baby mamas. And you actually having a child with a woman that is not your wife. This, fellas, gentlemen, is one of the most problematic, one of the quickest ways to lose your money, to fumble the bag, to create a life of stress, headaches, court dates, unnecessary conversations, necessary conversations, and just, if you want to put yourself in a position to be involved with some level of drama, headaches, the maneuvering of emotions and visits and all of that, just have a kid with a woman that's not your wife. It's the quickest way to do it. Now, what I want to talk about is why, as a man, it is very important for you to protect your seed. Myself, I am a man that had a child out of wedlock early on in my life. I think I was 19, 20 when my son was born. And so from firsthand experience, I can tell you that this is not a good deal. It's not a good deal for multiple reasons. One of those reasons is that you're always going to have to deal with the woman that you had the child with. And if you just so happen to not like that woman that much, if you just so happen to not have a firm relationship or a foundation with that woman, if you just so happen to have a change of heart about that woman, or she has a change of heart about you, whatever it may happen, you were forced by the life you created to have to deal with her. And fellas, I'm here to tell you, it's a bad deal. We men, in the eyes of the law, in the eyes of society, are already criminals just because we're men. We're already guilty whether we did anything wrong or not. And in the eyes of the law, in family law court specifically, it's always a bad deal for you. It's never in your best interest to put yourself in a position to be at the mercy of a woman, as well as the courts to have her back when it comes to creating children, paternity, child support, visitation. It is one of the most frustrating things you will ever deal with if you so choose to be irresponsible with your seed. Now, some may be saying, well, Daniel, you're giving advice on this, and how are you qualified to speak on this when you did the very thing you're saying not to do? Well, I'll tell you why. At that time in my life, I was I wasn't irresponsible at all. Actually, I was serving in the military when this occurred. But I had a moment's lapse in judgment. A moment. Literally one. And I decided to run the risk of not protecting myself in that moment. And it produced a child. Prior to that, I had no pregnancy scares. Post of that situation, I have had no other children that I have created, birthed, whichever. That lesson was definitely learned. But past the fact that it's not a good idea to have the child out of wedlock, it now puts your life down a track to where you're always going to be having to prove your validity, to prove your value, to prove your sanity, to prove your morality. At the end of it, when you are involved in creating a child with the woman that is not your wife, she is essentially always going to remain in a power position, especially when the courts get involved. Because now you are always going to be solely responsible for the safeguarding of that child, primarily financially, because that is the way that the law is set up. Why it's not a good idea is because how you feel about a woman at 20, 21, 22, 25 will be completely different than how you feel about her at 30, 35, maybe even 40. And again, this is primarily advice for men who are involved in relationships, situationships, something that is not, wedlocked in a sense. You're not married to this woman. You being married, that's a whole different landscape. But involving yourself in a transaction like this is financial suicide. I'll say that. Now, I can hear some men on here saying, well, what about the rappers? What about the famous guys or people who have a lot of money and they're not worried about child support? Trust and believe they're worried about child support. They may not tell you because you don't know them personally, but the one thing that is strong, the one thing that's stronger than the IRS is family law. You think the IRS got power? No, my friend. The family law, child support services is the worst. And it's something that I'm telling you, gentlemen, you do not want to deal with. That's just one aspect. Let's take into account that you're actually going to always have to now negotiate with the mother of this child to be the very thing that she put you in a position to be. By having your child, she made you a father. By having your child, she made you a guardian of that child. But what happens is that the dynamics is always in her position to dictate and control. And you believe that, well, I should be able to do this, I should be able to do that, or she's not going to be able to dictate and determine how I can go about seeing my kid, or how I can go about getting my kid or spending time with my kid. Gentlemen, I'm here to tell you, it's a bad deal. What creating a child out of wedlock does is essentially make you a somewhat of a slave relationally to that woman for 18 years. Let's just say almost 20 years. You're committed regardless if you want to be committed or not. You're forcefully made to have to arrive as the man, both financially, emotionally, collectively. I was watching Chris Rock's stand-up Tambourine actually a couple years back. I think it's 2-3 years now. And one of the things he said in this comedy special, go ahead and check it out if you get an opportunity. What I may do is leave a link in the description for his, it's a Netflix special. It's called Tambourine, Chris Rock. Chris Rock talked about this. He actually had children with his wife. They divorced. And what happened is that upon a divorce, well, family law gets involved. So now what they do is they come in and they tell you as a grown man, as a grown person, how you are going to go about living your life when it's involved with these children. And they dictate financially how much you have to contribute. They dictate how much time you are allowed to spend with them, how you're allowed to spend time with them, what kind of residence you need to provide for them, space you need to provide for them. My guy, gentlemen, you do not want this particular problem. The most humiliating thing on the planet is to be a grown man and have to stand in front of another grown man in a black robe that doesn't know you, but can dictate and determine what you're gonna do from this day forward. You talk about being checked, you talk about being emasculated. That is by far one of the biggest power moves, is being in front of a judge and really not being a criminal because you didn't do anything necessarily wrong, but you're treated as such. Chris Rock speaks to this point in his comedy special. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can check it out at your leisure. But he talks about this, and he talks about, as a man, you are now subject to scrutiny. You are now subject to being probed question after question. Well, what do you do? Well, how much do you make? Well, where do you live? They dig into your life. It is a problem that I personally want all men to avoid. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, if you're going to be the type of men that I hope to see you all develop to be, the one thing you're going to have to know and learn is that your choices can impact you. One choice now can impact you for years to come. And I know you guys are smart men, so I'm not trying to offend your intelligence. But, you know, one thing I have told my son, because he's 15 now, he'll be 16 in September. It's not cute or sexy to be walking around pushing baby strollers and slinging a diaper bag over your shoulder at 20, 21, 22. No, it's not cute. It's not attractive. It's not masculine. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. And what I was explaining to him is that you have to be the type of man that makes choices that put you in the best position to maximize your potential. Having a child before you're ready is the quickest way to slow down your progress. It is the quickest way to put you in a position to always be having to be subjected to scrutiny, to be subjected to how your money is going to be divvied up, to be subjected to your travel and things like that, you know, especially when you're involved in more so in a child support component. And gentlemen, let me explain this to you. If you think that you're going to get a girl pregnant and y'all not going to work out and she's not going to put you on child support, highly unlikely. Women move by the ability to gain access to resources. And all it takes is for her to wake up one day and realize her power, or have a conversation with family members or friends that tell her that she has this power, or you to piss her off. And now she goes into Terminator mode and wants to come for you because she's hurt, or she's offended, or she's emotional. Men, it's a bad deal. There is, in my opinion, no equation that puts you in a position of power when this is your life. So I encourage you today in this broadcast that if you are having sex, you make sure to take all precautions. And what I mean by all precaution, I'm not saying just condoms. You know, pulling out is definitely not a good birth control method. That woman that you're having sex with, especially if you're having sex with her on a consistent, regular basis, as a man, it's your job to make sure that you guys decide on the type of birth control protection you're going to involve in your relationship to protect yourself, protect her, and protect your future. That's your job as a man. I encourage it. I support it. And if you want to put yourself in the best position to not have to deal with future headaches, future irritations, you know, licenses being suspended, licenses not being issued because of, you know, child support and all those things, then protect yourself, gentlemen. Protect yourself at all times. There's a rule in boxing that they say at the point of the referee with the two boxers are standing toe to toe, and protect yourself at all times. This is a rule for life. This is Daniel Rucker advertising this rule. I want to share it with you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me today for 15 minutes or so. You know, I know I was a little bit all over the place, but I believe that I need to touch on this because it's very important. So gentlemen, protect your seed. It's one of the key components about being a solid man. I want to see you guys continue to win out here. But this is Daniel Rucker with Truth Table. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Thank you for tolerating my shades. I'm not trying to be fly or anything like that. It's just bright. So thank you for bearing with me. You guys have a good one. Till next time.